Hello and thank you for joining me today on The Political Conversationalist. We're continuing our series on divisive issues. This is video number 30 on divisive issues. I believe we started back with abortion and we moved on through gay marriage, transgender rights, just covered a vast variety of topics. And I can only think of one more topic that we'll be having, which will be police brutality, and that's kind of a follow-up video to this one. And then we'll be done with the divisive issues videos. Unless, that is, one of you out there has a topic that I have not discussed, something that people love to argue about, something that divides people, something that is a very partisan issue maybe, and you can email that to me or leave it down in the comments below, and I'll take any and all suggestions. But let's crack on with what this video is about, and that is about anthem kneeling. So this all started back in 2016 when the 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, during a preseason game, sat down during the anthem. He didn't stand up at all. And he did it a couple more times, and then once regular season started, he actually started doing what is kneeling, which is what most people do now that are protesting the anthem. Now, Colin Kaepernick himself says this is to protest police brutality against African Americans, and he says that he consulted with former Green Beret Nate Boyer over kneeling because in their joint mind, when they came up with this idea, sitting was disrespectful to the anthem, to the flag, to the country, to the military. But kneeling is a submissive position. It is a position that does show honor, yet it also shows that something is not quite right. So that's why they kneel. He maintains that he is not anti-American or anti-military. Mainly his problem seems to be with police brutality against African Americans. And police brutality, like I just mentioned earlier, will be our next video, and we're going to discuss some interesting statistics with that. Many people say that he shouldn't be allowed to play at all if he's going to kneel during the anthem. Many people say he should be fired. And even Trump says all these people that kneel for the anthem during the NFL should just be fired. However, constitutionally speaking, it's their right to kneel for the anthem. It's their right to sit for the anthem. If you look out in the crowd, not all those people are standing for the anthem. Constitutionally, it is absolutely their right. Not morally right, necessarily, but it is their constitutional right under the First Amendment of free speech to not stand for the anthem. Now, if they get fired or penalized by their employer for that, that's still within the bounds of the Constitution. Free speech is not 100% free. We talked about that in the hate speech video, how you had things like threatening and defamation of character, things like that that aren't that show that free speech isn't 100% free, especially when you're on the clock, so to speak. When you're at work, free speech is not free. In my home, out on the street, I can cuss and swear as much as I want to. But if I go up to my boss at work and call him every cuss word I know, chances are I'm going to get fired. That's not an impingement on my free speech. That's because I'm at work and I'm expected to behave a certain way. So if the NFL owners and the commission decide that kneeling is wrong for NFL players, then they can be punished for kneeling during the anthem, and there's nothing that the government can or should do about that. How you behave while at work is up to your work within the parameters of the Constitution. Unfortunately, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that free speech has to be free speech for all. And normally this isn't the conservative side who is so easily offended. It is normally the more liberal side of the country that is so easily offended by anyone who disagrees with them. But this really shows that goes for both sides. And many people have pointed out that NFL players have been convicted rapists, convicted women beaters, convicted child abusers, convicted murderers even, and no boycotting was done, yet kneeling for the national anthem is a line in the sand. Peaceful protest that really amounts to nothing. So that is a very valid point. But I would like to say this. Not all those who kneel do so for police brutality. Sure, they might say that. But most of those who kneel, I would venture to say, are doing so they look like they're part of the in crowd, so they look like they are woke to the issues of the common man, and it's basically just picking a political side. It has very little to do with most of these NFL players for actually having a problem with police brutality, because if it were, they could donate some of their millions to help against police brutality and help organizations and firms and foundations that help people like that. Now, to his credit, Colin Kaepernick has donated money to multiple charities, and that's why he in himself, maybe in a vacuum, I probably believe he does respect the country and just thinks there's a problem with police brutality. But not all those who actually kneel are. Also, not all those who stand up are patriots. Many of them stand up who are also, like I said, rapists and pedophiles and drug dealers and even murderers. That doesn't mean that just because they put their hand over their heart during the anthem that they're actually patriotic. I think what we all need to realize is that we need to put ourselves in other people's shoes, even if you want to burn those shoes. But we need to put ourselves in other people's shoes. From someone like the point of Colin Kaepernick, who is a biracial man, if you see constantly on the news that African Americans are getting killed by police and you want to do something about it, that should be your constitutional right to do it. On the other hand, Colin Kaepernick needs to see how his stance is making him look in relation to patriotism. It's making him look as if he doesn't like the country, and if he doesn't like the country, many people are saying, well, please go somewhere else. This is always going to be an issue of contention. It's always going to be something people argue about, but hopefully it will always be free speech winning the day, and people being allowed to do what they can do within the parameters of the Constitution. And we can talk about it, but we can't suppress people who disagree with us, whether it be on abortion, whether it be on police brutality. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they shouldn't have their fair say. Thanks for watching.